When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. It's Friday morning. We're here for the full 60 minutes, and it's kind of a hodgepodge. We're going to talk about sports, and we'll talk about the headline in the Fresno Bee this morning: water rates repealed by the council. Back with your phone calls in a moment. And back here on the program, the showroom floor at Ventura TV, Comcast Channel 187 and 43.6. As you well know, we are a full hour now, 10 to 11 o'clock, so you can call in at any time. In case you haven't seen the Fresno Bee yet this morning, or haven't seen it online, Fresno repeals the water rate hike. They had a big council meeting yesterday. We're going to be talking to our guest about this today, and we'll take your phone calls, but not just yet. I mentioned at the top that it's kind of a hodgepodge day here on Connect with Me, because we're going to talk a little bit about sports today. We normally do that on a Wednesday, but I thought I'd make this a special day because I want to get our guest to chime in on this a little bit, including talking about the Dodger broadcaster. But yesterday, the trade deadline, Yoenis Cespedes, he went to Boston for that big blockbuster trade with the Boston Red Sox. But the San Francisco Giants right now are in a huge battle with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're 3.5 games back in the West. A week ago, they started the day on Friday, a week ago today, in first place. Now they're trailing. You know what happened last night at Dodger Stadium? Let's roll the videotape and I'll show you exactly what happened. As predicted, there's the best pitcher in baseball right there, bar none. Nobody is better than Clayton Kershaw of the Los Angeles Dodgers. And last night, another perfect example. My goodness, this guy just handcuffed the Atlanta Braves 1-0. Oh yeah, he gave up 9 hits. Oh, but by the way, he did strike out 9 batters for Atlanta. That was his second complete game. Look at the mastery by Clayton Kershaw. Hey, let's take you back almost a week ago to AT&T Park. Next video. There he is on the mound at AT&T against the Giants last Saturday night. Clayton Kershaw continued his magic work over the Giants. He just totally dominated them with a nasty curve and even better slider. He relies on 4 pitches, okay? The curve, the slider, the changeup, and obviously the fastball. Nonetheless, the Giants could not touch this at all. Incredible. Kershaw with that quirky kind of left-handed delivery. He's kind of not that tall, but he's kind of broad-shouldered and has that delivery. He now improves to 13-2. He's got a 1.71 ERA. 12-5 against the Giants lifetime. 7-2 record at AT&T Park with the ERA at 0.69. He had a no-hitter earlier this year. Last week after the game, I had a chance to talk to Clayton Kershaw and some of his mates and some San Francisco Giants. So you're able to keep the Giants off balance tonight. Was that the key for you?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
for the most part.
As opposed to what?
Anything.
Yeah, I mean, you got to mix up your pitches for sure. You can't just throw fastballs all day in there.
Yeah, it just seemed like they didn't really get too many solid hits off of you tonight. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good team over there, and they're pretty aggressive swinging the first pitch, and you just try and mix it in when you can, and let your defense do the work. Juan was great over there, made a lot of plays at third, and it's a good win.
In your opinion, is this the Dodger team that we're going to see the rest of the way?
I don't know. I mean, I hope so, yeah.
Talk about Clayton Kershaw tonight, if you would.
He was good.
How good? Is this the best you've ever seen him?
He's always good, you know. He did good, and we didn't hit him good, so he won today.
He kept his fastball in. He established his strikes with the fastball in, threw the cutter in. He just kept everything down and kept everything on our hands. So, typical, Kershaw, he's not going to give you much to hit, and, it's going to be tough.
I think about all my bats, I saw maybe 12 pitches, if that. Let's see, 3, 6, 9, 10 pitches. And I wasn't able to really hit any of them very good. So, I don't know how to define, he's just good.
Let me ask you something. Is this the Dodgers that we're going to see the rest of the season, last night and tonight? What kind of a Dodger team are we going to see from here on out?
I can just say that, the guys are playing together. Everybody's pulling on the same end of the rope, and everybody's starting to learn their job a little bit better and doing what they have to do to help us win.
Is that the key, playing together? Because the criticism for this team in the past has been, hey, great talent, individual talent, but can they play as a team?
Yeah, just play together, and I think we'll be okay.
Can this team do it?
Yes, sir.
Can you play well together as a team? I mean, there are some great, outstanding individuals on this team, but playing together as a team is what wins championships.
Yeah, and that's what we've been figuring out a way to do. All year. You're gonna have your moments where things just don't quite come together and work out the way you want. But no one's ever pointed fingers here. It's one where we all just kind of collectively come back together and figure out a way to go out there and win the game that next day.
Can the Giants survive all the injuries? I mean, it just seems like one day after the next, there's a replacement player coming in. It's like a revolving door almost.
Yeah, man, there's way too much game left. The season's not even close to being over. So, we got a lot of games left, and, anything can happen.
Yeah. How about yourself? How are you feeling? You feel like you're in a little bit of a slump lately and want to try to break out of it?
No, I feel great.
Do you really?
Yeah, I feel great.
Yeah, you feel good at the plate, feel comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who knows if I would have been able to catch the ball if if it was later in the game, but or later in the. But I know I probably could have kept it in front of me, So.
I was just going to ask you what the difference was between that 6 o'clock start and, say, a normal 7 or 7:10 start in terms of the sun.
The sun hasn't gone beneath the stadium yet, so it's just right there.
Yeah, you saw that last piece there with Hunter Pence, the interview. He lost that ball in the sun. It was a 6 o'clock start at AT&T last Saturday night. So I asked him about that. That really kind of led to the Dodger rally. And you wonder why they're starting those games at 6 o'clock when the sun is at that angle, hasn't dipped below the stadium rim quite yet. And then, of course, you saw Michael Morse lollygagging in left field. They hired they signed this guy to hit home runs. He's not hitting home runs, and he's lollygagging in left field. What's going on? Anyway, I don't mean to get too serious about this. Kind of the playground of our show here, the sports angle of this, and it's fun to watch because it's so deep into the season now with the Dodgers and Giants. I think the Central Valley is split. You got half Dodger fans, half Giant fans. It's fun to watch. It's fun to talk about. I'm glad we were at AT&T live in our studio to talk about this and to talk about longtime Dodger broadcaster Vin Scully is our guy. You know what? This guy was our first guest on this program. Connect with me. He's a friend of this program. His name is Al Smith, the head of the chamber here in Fresno. We'll talk to him about that and the water rates. Hey, that's the front page of the Fresno Bee this morning. If you want to see it, the rates have been repealed. We'll get his comments and your phone calls at 436-MeTV, option 11. Turn down the sound. We're back in a moment having fun here on Connect with Me.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Whirlpool appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Touch the new Whirlpool Ice Collection. It offers a modern style made to create an inspiring kitchen experience. Save big on this Whirlpool Black Ice or White Ice kitchen. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
He's forever 21, and he can talk about anything. He's been around so long. Al Smith, my guest here, my first guest, and you're going to be around a long time.
Well, I hope so.
I hope so,
yeah.
too. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Things are going good at the chamber. Physical health is all right. You were talking about Ben Scully, and
Oh, my gosh.
wanting to do that. He's
Well, first of all, what do you think of this race, the Dodgers? Because I see this thing in the Central Valley. I see Dodger hats, Dodger coats, and then on the other half, it's the Giants. It's kind of fun to watch.
well, it's kind of always been that way, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been here 22 years, 23 years
Yeah,
now, and
yeah.
you know, I'm not the biggest baseball. I'm a football guy.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not the biggest baseball fan in the world. But as you talk to people, I mean, if they're baseball fans, they're passionate about which one they support.
I
And
know.
I agree with you. I think it's probably 50-50. But I think if I were guessing, it'd be probably leaning a little more to San Francisco.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
Well, you've been here a lot longer
and
than
it'll
me,
be
so-
interesting also to find out what happens when the AAA thing comes down. You know, they had that decision about the farm team, and could we lose that association with the Giants, with the Grizzlies, and if that.
Do you think that'll happen?
Those things seem to all be behind closed doors, and nobody sort of tips their cards out. But
Yeah.
you know, I think that would be not good for the Grizzlies if all of a sudden we have the Milwaukee team, you know, that we become the farm club. So, you know, I think the Grizzlies help keep the Giants in the forefront of things, and you can go to the Giants game and see a guy you saw at Chancey Park, you know, 3 weeks earlier, and I think that's
Yeah.
very.
And last year we saw Pablo Sandoval come through
Sure.
here with some rehab stuff, and who knows? But all those greats that are up there now did come through Fresno.
Right.
No question about it. And later in the program, I'm going to have an interview with the Giants rookie catcher. He's not a rookie, but he came up from the Grizzlies. Andrew Suzak, Adam Duvall as well, who got sent up, sent down, sent up. Now he's back in Fresno. How'd you like that life? The life of a minor leaguer, up and down.
I know. I mean, you got to love what they do, because it sure cannot be a life of leisure. You know.
I got to talk to you because I need to put up a picture of Vin Scully. I'm just fascinated by this guy, and I want you to leave that. There he is. Everybody knows what Vin Scully looks like. Hey, we've got a phone call here. I'll ask you about Vin Scully in a minute. This guy is my all-time hero. How this guy has done it for more than 20 lifetimes, I'll never know. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, no particular question, gentlemen. Just a statement that when we're little kids growing up here, we have to make a decision if we're NorCal or if we're SoCal. And I think that is why the dichotomy exists between, you know, all the Dodger fans and the Giants fans.
That's
that's just my statement.
So what are you, NorCal or SoCal?
Hey, I'm NorCal, buddy.
All right, just kind of clarification.
Yeah,
that's all.
I'm a
Hey, no offense.
background. What's that?
No offense. Hey, we're just asking, man.
Well, they don't have a football team down there anymore. You know, I don't know how they. You know, I'm surprised even you know, with all that goes on down there. You know, but there's a lot more peaceful up north.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the call. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Let's put that photo of Vin Scully up again. I mean, how do you explain this guy? He signed another contract, Al. You've been in radio broadcasting all your life. You know this stuff inside out. How does this guy last 66 years as a Dodger broadcaster?
Well, it goes to his talent, of course, and it goes to the legend that he has become. The fact that he's probably pushing 90, 80, probably in his mid to late 80s.
He's 86.
And he has been doing this for 64 years?
66 years. Next year will be his 66th year as
with that organization.
Yeah, with that.
Actually,
Getting
with
back to Brooklyn.
Yeah, right. You know,
How does one human being do that?
Well, first of all, he's got a tremendous amount of knowledge in his head. He doesn't have to do a lot of prep, probably, walking into a game. And you know, he's just a guy who's still, I guess, got great health. He's good health, doesn't want to slow down. Probably, you know, I kind of went through the same thing when I left the radio business, which is that was my life. I mean, I didn't have a lot of hobbies, and I retired for a year, and it felt like 10 years, and it was just boring as all get out. So and he's got his off season. I mean, it's not like he's
right.
Doesn't have some downtime.
But I mean, a lot of people, when they're 86, they're in a walker. They're drooling on themselves, okay? Vin Scully's doing games. You know, I was at AT&T last Saturday night and saw him twice up in the press box, and then after the game, walked by me. He had an entourage with him,
Sure.
bodyguards. I mean, walking very gingerly at 86, but God bless the guy. I mean, we should be so lucky, right?
But, you know, it keeps him young.
Yeah.
Working keeps everybody young.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I've never been a big advocate for. I'm amazed at people who can retire. I had a brother, my oldest brother, retired from Delta Airlines at 56, and he didn't die until 79. And I'm thinking, how did you keep yourself busy for 20-some years? You know, but some people take to it like water. Some people can't. So I think what he does keeps him young, and that's probably good for him.
But one final thing, we'll move on. Have you ever seen anything like it in broadcasting?
No, not like that.
Not, I mean, 66 years.
Yeah,
that
right.
takes the cake, right?
Yeah, that's got to be a record.
Really?
Google that and let's see if it's true.
I don't know. I've got my phone right here. Maybe I will. Let's get to another topic before we get into water, because I'm kind of teasing you with this. 436 MeTV option 11, kind of a hodgepodge today. We're kind of all over the map, but it's Friday. What the heck? The weekend is upon us. Let's put up the full screens of this Gallup poll. Let's kind of run it down, screen by screen, topic by topic. And the Gallup poll was taken, well, when was it? Like, well, in June. Okay, this is the confidence level by the American people in some various organizations. And let's keep this up here just for a minute. There it is up on the screen. U.S. military tops the list. You would think the U.S. military would be at like 99%. It's not. It's amazing, huh, Al?
I don't think anything becomes 99% in today's world. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you poll the people as to what's the name of the president of the United States, you're probably lucky to get it past 60.
Yeah, yeah. But look at that. Church, organized religion at 45, medical system only at 34, U.S. Supreme Court only at 30. You can go to the next page and look at the next page, and it's right there. The presidency, 29%. Public schools, of course, not much confidence there. Not much confidence in our banks. Is that surprising?
Based on what we just went through with the subprime lending problem, probably not.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see, I think, a number later on called big business. I think there's a big suspicion, a little lack of trust, a lack of confidence in those organizations that have become very, very large. Because if you looked on the earlier slide, small business had a 62%.
But big business, as you see right there, 21.
Yeah. And so there's this disconnect, I think, between the consumer or the citizen and this huge corporation which has no face. It's just a name. I had a conversation. I was with a Bank of America executive yesterday, and we were talking about this kind of stuff because, you know, Bank of America is trying to come through their thing. They had to buy Merrill Lynch and the Countrywide Mortgage. And they were talking about, they were asking, they had a little panel group together of people in our community saying, how do we become friendlier to the community? How do we raise our image? And the part is that there is no face behind Bank of America. There's just a name.
Yeah.
If you have a local business, you know that guy. He's a part of the community. And my advice to them is get your executives very much involved in the community and don't keep moving them out.
Yeah,
when you get them in here, let them become a part of Fresno. And now I am Bank of America. You know me. You know my kids. My kids played soccer with your kids. Now we become trusted.
Yeah.
And just being a rotating executive in a big corporation, I think, does not help any of them.
Yeah, we do have a phone call. Let's take it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead. Hey, caller.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. You're on the air.
I would like to ask a question about.
Go ahead. We're waiting.
I would like to ask a question
Got to turn down the sound.
about what are we doing in the Middle East here? This is crazy.
What are we doing in the Middle East? You mean this country, the United States? What are we doing about it? Is that your question? Okay. Yeah, you got to lower your TV. Got to lower your sound. You can't listen to us on the TV. You got to hold that phone up to your ear and talk. Okay. Turn down the sound and talk. Are you still there? No, he's gone. Okay, now he's gone. What are we doing in the Middle East? Well, we're not doing much of anything.
Not well.
No, not well. Does that affect business?
It affects the stock market. I mean, you saw yesterday it dropped, 300 points? I think it's down 100 points or something today.
Yeah.
So there's a whole confidence issue that happens when you have that kind of turmoil throughout the country or throughout the world. So, but, I'm sure that it's not going to probably affect businesses in Fresno particularly, but I'm sure that there are some international people, international corporations who will have a direct impact.
I know we got to take a break, but the disconnect between the people, the average American citizen, and big business, is it across the board? I mean, you could say the same about Wells Fargo or even Comcast or NBC or any big corporation does not have a face. So they can't relate to that.
Well, but it's not to say that they couldn't have a face. You remember the old Lee Iacocca?
Yes.
Chrysler?
Yes.
When they were trying to come back and rebuild, he became the face of the corporation.
Yeah.
And if you had trust in Lee Iacocca, you felt better about the product. There is nobody kind of doing that today. The guy who ran Southwest Airlines was sort of high profile. He did a lot of his own commercials and stuff like that. So he put a face to it. But
and that's the disconnect.
Yeah, I just think you just can't live off. I mean, some names are golden. McDonald's is a golden name. Right. You don't even know who owns McDonald's or even who the CEO is today.
Nor do you care.
Yeah, I mean, but if you have faith that when I go up to the drive-through that hamburger is going to be pretty good, or at least know what to expect, I guess you can build that confidence. But large corporations are having a real trouble connecting with the consumer.
Amazing. Okay, continue this conversation on the other side of the break with Al Smith, the head of the chamber here in Fresno. 436-MeTV option 11. Remember, my friends, if you do call in, turn down that sound, or we're going to have that problem we did with that last caller. Call in. We're back in a moment.
Don't you ever hit me again!
Chief, I think we got a hit on our hands.
MeTV Fresno, now on Comcast Channel 187.
I want to get back to this Gallup poll for a moment. Remember, you can call in, but also keep in mind to try to turn your sound down, or we're going to get feedback because you're trying to listen to your TV and trying to listen to us, and there's a big delay. There's like a 10-second delay, so it's not going to work if you don't turn down the sound. Anyway, Al Smith is here. Let's talk about this Gallup poll some more, because newspapers have a 22% confidence, if we can go down the list and look at that. And television news is down to 18%. Any surprise there?
Yeah. I mean, I guess what is maybe there's no confidence in most of the media. The big look the part above that, news on the internet, 19%.
Yeah.
And so as you and I were talking before we came on the air, I guess the question would be, where is the general public going to get their news? Where's their information coming from? Because if all of these traditional sources, and even the non-traditional, the internet, has no confidence level, then you have no confidence in any news, it would seem, would be the conclusion.
Yeah, and even if you are going to the internet, most people, I think, are pretty intelligent when it comes to the internet, that they don't believe everything that's on there.
Hopefully.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
would you agree
so,
with that?
Yeah. I would hope so anyway.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you would hope.
You could put anything on there as news, and whether it be accurate or not. So.
Yeah.
But it is, I just...
But according to this poll, we can't even trust what's in the newspaper anymore.
And maybe we've just got a disengaged citizenry. Maybe they just don't care anymore. Their universe is around them. You know, we had that conversation when Measure G came out.
Yeah.
Where they had 10% was for, 10% was against, 80% didn't even show.
Good morning, caller. I hope you got your sound down on your TV. What's your question?
I sure do. I was just hearing you guys talking about where you watch the news anymore. I actually watch the European news on Antenna 31.1 because they show a lot more than what American newscasters show, and I just wanted to say that.
Okay. Well, good for you. That's great. I mean, wherever you can get it, I guess, is good. If you trust what you're watching, that's the key. If you don't trust what you're watching, then what good is it?
Yeah, I think we're in a soundbite era too, and you don't have the in-depth thing. You know, so you have people like PBS and National Public Radio and Public Television, who tend to do more in-depth stuff. Television, I mean, you came out of that field. You are in that field, and you know when you put a newscast together, the average story is how long?
Oh,
40
minute
seconds?
10,
Okay.
minute 15, minute 30,
And if
unless
you
it's
have
a
video,
special.
And if you have video,
Yeah.
it's just so there's no real in-depth exploring of ideas on television much on commercial television.
With the exception of 60 Minutes, let's say.
Yeah. And 2020 and a couple of those kinds of programs. But when you look at the newscast, the typical 5:30, 6 o'clock newscast, you don't see any of that kind of in-depth reporting.
Well,
going
even
on.
Channel 30, Al, you know, which I guess they have most of the viewers at this point. You go to the top of their 5 or top of their 11, they've got maybe 3 or 4 minutes of solid news and bam, bam, bam commercials. Bam, bam, bam commercials. Then a little bit of news, bam, bam commercials. It's like you're not getting much at the top, just
But
a
look
little
at
bit.
look what the news is when they are into news. Most of the news is crime.
Yeah.
You
Or
don't
politics.
hear a little politics, but it's who shot who ran into what car. All the things are crime, 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 crime. We like to be observers, I guess, but it sure doesn't help these kinds of numbers.
All right, caller, what's your question? Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, I was listening to your guest talking about putting a face on a corporation, and I don't know if you're still on topic. I turned down the sound on my
Yeah,
TV
go ahead.
call. So my question is, everybody associated Jack Welch with the GE Corporation in those golden days.
Right.
In your guest's estimation, has GE suffered because of its anonymity now, or is it bomb-proof, being blue chip as it is and perceived as impenetrable or infallible? Does it matter when they get to be that big? That's my question.
I would say that they're not immune to disaster or a slippage of their position. And whether it was the face or the performance of the company is you could debate, but you know, Jack Welch was there in glorious times for GE, and he made himself a rock star, and was, you know, solicited for advice all around the world, and then things went south with him, and all of a sudden
He was out.
there were some decisions made that didn't exactly. Well, I think he retired. I don't think they pushed him out, but after the fact, he came out with some, I think, pretty controversial things that a lot of people said, well, maybe he's not the rock star I thought he was. But you know,
Well, he was while he was at GE.
oh yeah, he was hotter than a pistol.
Yeah. Yeah, he really was.
Yeah.
But you got to put that face to an organ. Like here at Ventura TV, we're a small business, but the face of Ventura TV is Mark Sheeran, the Sheeran family.
Right.
His father had it. So, and you're saying that makes a difference because of that trust that you can build between the public and that small business
Yeah,
owner.
remember this Gallup poll doesn't say how successful they are. It
Yeah.
says what's my confidence level.
Yeah.
I mean, so I can go buy a GE product and be very happy with what the product is, but I may not like the company particularly or even know enough about the company. So you ask me, do you have confidence in GE? Probably I'm going to say yeah, because they've been branded pretty good.
Yeah.
You know.
And how much stock, before we go to break, how much stock do you put in this poll, like this Gallup poll? I mean, you followed
Well,
these things for years.
You know, there's I'm sure a sizable sample here. There's probably 3 or 4% variance, plus or minus. I think what's one of the things that's kind of interesting from the poll is the U.S. Supreme Court. It said 30%, and I would like to have looked at that number before the Obamacare decision and see if that would have been different.
Yeah.
Because that was a very controversial, high-profile thing. I would have thought, as a rule, the Supreme Court would be looked at pretty positively.
Well, and we're not privy, at least every single day, to a lot of the horror stories that are going on with healthcare right now and the Affordable Care Act,
Right.
just day-to-day decisions. And, you know, that's unfortunate. But we're going to continue our conversation with Al Smith. He's the head of the chamber. We encourage your phone calls, my friends. And after the break, our next topic is going to be this water situation, the water rates being repealed. Big front page story on the Bee today. And, you know, you can call in, weigh in on it. 436-METV, option 11. Turn down the sound. We're back with our wonderful guest, Al Smith, in a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer. the first pulsator agitator washer. And now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here in the program, we still have a phone call, I'm assuming. Good morning, caller. How are you? And get your question out. What is it?
Oh, I just wanted to ask what they was feeling about the economy in Fresno.
Okay.
What do I feel about the economy in Fresno? It's better than it was 3 years ago. It still has got a 10% unemployment figure. That does not account for all of those who have just dropped out of the workforce, so it's probably closer to 20-25%. What's going to happen in the future is, I think, going to be predicated a great deal on the water situation, what happens to the agricultural community.
Another thing I wanted to ask about is the water situation, because I live in Clovis, California, and our water situation has gone down to you can only water 2 days a week.
Right.
Here in Fresno too, I think starting tomorrow
Today.
or today.
Yeah. Today's first day. Yeah. I think. I mean, and whether we have green lawns or whether we have fallowed fields, that's sort of a different importance. I think we obviously would like to have green lawns, but if we start closing down 10, 15, 20% of our agriculture because we don't have water, that's going to have an economic effect across the board.
I work with the fire department.
Yeah.
And I would like to get on air and ask this guy this.
What guy?
What guy you talking? You are on the air, and you are talking to the man on the air, Al Smith. You've been on the air the whole time.
So I'm sorry, man. Everybody's told me to turn this thing down.
Yeah, you got to turn it down and just listen on your phone, sir.
So what's the question?
What's your question? Go ahead.
Actually, my question is, with all the economy going as bad as it is, and did you guys see that water blowout in Los Angeles?
Yeah, 20 million gallons lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to lead into the next
water
conversation.
From the San Joaquin Valley to them, but nobody seems to matter that we have to take a 10-second shower, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's better than no shower.
Chase that one drop around the...
Well, that's kind of funny there, dude. But all that being said, why are we sending all our water over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you know, the water wars are going on, and this next subject coming up is about that locally. We also have it statewide. I was at a breakfast this morning with Assemblyman Henry T. Perea about the water bond that's due for the November ballot, and where that is.
Where do we stand with that? Because that's an important topic.
There, you know, the current one that's scheduled for the ballot was the one we passed in, 2009, I guess it was, and it was like $11.5 billion or something like that. It's got a lot of pork in it, so a lot of people were very concerned about it because people just were throwing everything into it.
By the way, we're showing video. That's a thing of the past right there. Look at that. Green lawn and sprinklers on. You're going to see brown and sprinklers off in a little while. Let's take a call here real quick, Al, and I'll continue on that point. Go ahead, caller, quickly.
John, this is Doug Vega. I'm calling in to say hello to you and your guest. And,
hi, Doug. It's been so long since I've seen you.
Yeah, so long as we've seen you.
What's going on, Doug? How are you?
Fine, thank you very much. It's a topic of hand, and I thought it would be good for us to have a little chat.
Yeah, go ahead. Speak up a little or crank him up just a hair. Doug, so last night, I was just getting into this water thing with Al Smith, and we're talking about water across the board now, water shortage. But your specific topic last night, front page of the Bee, Fresno repeals the water hike. Hey, let's put the graphics up real quick of what the water rates were in 2013, $18.38 on average. So that's what they would have been in 2016 had they not repealed it. So is this a victory for Doug Begum or a victory for the city of Fresno?
Well, this is a victory for the people of Fresno, who now will have the ability to have, I believe, much more information and a even peer-to-peer discussion. Heretofore, I don't believe the topic that was rolled out was really peer-to-peer. It was rolled through this advisory committee. With many of them came back to me and said, you know, that was a one-way conversation for us, and it was a jam down. Then when they did their dog and pony show around town, it was more of a like a stage show where they got up in front of everyone and told them how they're going to do it and asked questions, and the questions were very limited and no follow-ups. And I think it's a better way to do this, but we have so much more out of this that we get a new noticing, and I think that we all ought to be proud of the fact that the council and the mayor has accepted this new noticing. I think it's nothing but an advantage to the people of this community to have a heads up that they have a water rate or a sewer rate or a garbage rate that's going to go up, and they're not going to have the opportunity, or they're going to have a big opportunity to see it, like a jury notice. That's what we've asked for it to look like.
Doug,
not exactly like a jury notice, of course, but it's going to stand out like that.
Yeah,
so
Doug,
we want to have people have a participation in their own democracy.
Doug, explain to him a little bit about the noticing thing, because I think that is a very positive thing that came out of that. It's my understanding, the way it was noticed, that it was just thrown into your water bill along with every other thing that they stuffed into it. Now they have to be noticed separately. Is that correct?
Well, they actually set a separate notice before, and they what they did though in that notice before, it looked like a water brochure. It looked like, you know, the pat on the back, we're doing great, our water system sound, we have leaks that you ought to go look for, that kind of stuff. And it was buried in page 3 on 2 paragraphs, and very few people would even open that kind of brochure because it looked like a dog and pony show brochure. Right. So now it's going to be a deliberate notice to the people that there's a rate increase in front of you.
When you say deliberate notice, Doug, does that mean it's going to be a separate notice when you say deliberate?
Yeah, it was a separate notice before, but it was wrapped in so much more dialogue about how to fix leaks, and you have water consumption and this kind of stuff. And until page 3, you didn't get into that you had a water rate increase. So this will do a deliberate thing, and it does something else. It has a mail back document. It mail back business reply mail that you do not have to put a stamp on anymore. Question, how many people use stamps anymore? And then the old system, you had to find a blank piece of paper or write your name and address on it, and you had to find a blank envelope and write the address of the city on it, and put a stamp and return it. Much more what people do today than the old days. Now you just check, sign, and put it in the mail, and it's done.
All right.
And I think that's a positive for everyone.
I want to get your input on what happened yesterday, the repeal. Were you kind of shocked by the decision?
No,
it's a 6-0 decision.
In fact, what the Chamber's position was what the final outcome was. We said, look, the Chamber feels there's a very big need, and we can argue about the severity of it, but there's a big need for infrastructure, the 20 million gallons that burst in L.A. and ruined property and lost all that water.
Down there by UCLA, I believe.
And those were 93-year-old pipes, and we have 100-year-old pipes in this town. So that could be us. So I think we all agree that infrastructure is an extremely important element that we need to address somehow. I think the water treatment plant is another debate.
Is that a separate issue?
Yes, it's two issues, but I think the way it was rolled out and the effort to modify it or to kill it or put it on the ballot had some genuine concerns on every part. So we went into the thing last night, a very long evening, by the way, or afternoon. We went into the thing last night saying, look, take it off the ballot. You guys get back together. Let's see if we can figure a better way to do this. But having said that, make sure that the infrastructure is still on the table and the water treatment plant is still on the table.
Doug, would you agree with everything that Al Smith just said?
Well, first of all, infrastructure was never off our table. We said all along that it should move along. As a matter of fact, there are sufficient reserve funds for the infrastructure, and it was in the previous plan, by the way. The same infrastructure they want to go fix up was in the previous rate increase, but they never got to it. And my question is to everyone, what guarantees that isn't going to happen again and again and again? Because the same old thing that everyone complains about, that we keep kicking the can down the road, is the fact that that infrastructure has been in the city sites for years, and they've had the money,
but they've spent it in the north, the northeast, and the northwest. They spent it on a brand new plant in the northeast they can't even turn on. Cost us $30 million, and they can't even turn it on. So my point is we need to have this dialogue, not only about that, about where the water is, what's the best way to do, the water allocation back to this community for growth, whether it's a water plant that big. Remember, all the way up to 2010, the Citizens Advisory Committee was being told that they're going to put a 20 million gallon a day plant at that location. All of a sudden, in 1 or 2 months, it went from 20 million gallons a day to an 80 million gallon a day plant. That's a quantum leap of about a $300 and some odd million expense they have to drag through and put around the necks of the ratepayers without a full discussion. That was wrong. And I think most people believe that that's one of the things that upset the apple cart, because of the rates had to increase so high to justify paying that kind of bond debt. It's the wrong way to do it through a revenue bond in a community of 130,000 hookups. To have a revenue bond, the same kind of concept they do to pay for the Bay Bridge and the Golden State Bridge. When you're driving over it, you put a little toll in, millions of people pay for that revenue. Airports, same way. But when you have a finite group of people having to pick the tab up and the revenue has to be there whether they use water or not, they have to increase the rates to keep the revenue up. It's the wrong way to do it. Okay. And I think we need to take a whole other way of looking, that if we're so bent about the water being, and truly so, that is such an essential item in our lives, why shouldn't we step up and pony up to put some of it on our property tax? What's wrong with that? And you don't have to put that much on it to bring down that bond debt. And assessments. And City of Fresno does it all the time. Every time they have an annexation, they put curbs, gutters, street lighting, median island fix-ups. Why not do that here?
Okay. Doug, we're running short on time. We've got to go to break, but I just want to ask you one final thing. You do agree that our system, our water system, needs upgrading, and the water rates are going to happen at some point, but you're saying they should happen in small increments. Is that, am I correct about that?
Well, that's right. As a matter of fact, they could start fixing up the infrastructure right now. They have enough reserves to do it. They don't have enough reserves to go pay for a $320 million bond. I'm saying let's start taking our priorities and resetting them and taking a look at the water and how we want to allocate it and bring it back into this community and all the other. Matter of fact, City of Fresno is making millions selling water right now. You know that. And so we need to have that out on the table, too. That's a whole other discussion you don't hear much about. So, yeah, I'm anxious, and I hope Al and the Chamber are put the feet to the fire of the city, that they promised that we would do this, and I want to get it done, and I think we can do it, and we should have it on an even keel, too.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for calling in, Doug. Good to talk to you. So this water thing isn't going to go away. The system needs upgrading. We all agree to that. And at some point, the rates are going to go up.
Yeah, and there's some debate about the whole water treatment plant situation. But I think the good thing of what happened yesterday is, we corrected a little thing like notification. His point was made was, they threw it into an envelope. You had to put a stamp back on it. They wanted to stand out. If you got a jury duty summons at your house, you don't overlook that.
No. And by the way, I do.
He wants to package that notice in such a manner, and I think this is good. Yeah. In such a manner that says, look, this is not just junk mail. Yeah. This is something that you really need to take a look at.
You better look at it and mail it back.
And so I think that's a very constructive step forward. I think what happened at council yesterday is good. Everybody's going to go to the table. Mr. Begum will be there. Lee Brand will be there. The city will be there. All the experts on both sides, and they all question whether your expert's better than my expert, how that goes. But they will all be there, and hopefully when this is all said and done, the problem is every time we wait another month, it costs us more money as a rule. But if we can get back at the table and in the next 6 or 8 months come back with Plan B, then hopefully we'll get this resolved, and everybody will.
Because you don't want the situation that happened down at UCLA. When was it? Last week? 20 million gallons down the drain, gone.
And the property damage. That's not even including the property damage.
I know, millions in property damage to boot. We all saw the video down there at Southern California when that tragedy happened down there. We don't want that happening here in the Central Valley with our aging water pipes and system. 436-MeTV, option 11, if you want to weigh in on the water rates repealing, going back to the 2013 rates. Back with your phone calls if you want to call in a moment.
When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the Samsung big screen we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start. But you really should touch the merchandise before you buy.
Time for that upgrade to an HD 3D web-enabled Samsung TV.
Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Oh boy, Doug Begum just got off the phone with us here. He, I guess, scored a, what was it, a victory for Fresno or a victory for him? I'm not sure. I'm not sure who won in this thing.
Well, I think he won. I mean, I think he asked and through his insistence, made everybody say, revisit this. The way you did it, whether it might have been great intentions, did not play well, and it did not get a good reflection of what the sentiment of the people are. So he got the signatures. It was going to go to the ballot. The city didn't want it to do that until they could. I assume they were afraid of the vote, and it's a complex issue. It's very hard to explain in sound bites in a 30-second TV commercial.
Yeah, caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, a couple of quick questions. The Fulton Mall, we're going to open it up. We're going to keep kicking a dead horse. Why can't we take the funds for the mall and use that to upgrade our infrastructure? Secondly, high-speed rail, the billions going into that. Why doesn't the state use that money to help upgrade and improve our water storage facilities?
Well,
we're spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on something which I don't think is going to work in the long run.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the answer to the fund is the funding sources come from different pots. And so high-speed rail money and transportation money goes for transportation, water money goes for water. All these things are in silos in our federal government. So to say, okay, we got $16 million coming from the feds for the Fulton Mall, let's take and push it over here to this side of the ledger and address water. The feds say, no way. That is dedicated money out of the transportation department for transportation needs. So you can't just mix and match that way. It just doesn't, it's not set up. You would think you would like to, but that's not the way the system is set up.
Let's get back to the water bond. Is this thing going to make the ballot? Second, if it does, how is that going to help our water needs here in the Central Valley?
Well, there's the bond that's scheduled for November is $11-point-something billion.
And that's already in. It's on the ballot.
So it's scheduled to go on the ballot.
Scheduled to go on the ballot, not a shoe-in.
Well, yes, right. They could pull it.
Okay.
As they've done for the last 2 election cycles.
Mm-hmm.
The governor has come out with a $6 billion proposal, which is almost half of what the 11 was. And the conventional wisdom of many of the people in Sacramento is $6 billion does nothing. You can't really get to it. I was with Henry T. Perea this morning. He was giving us an update as to what they are trying to put together in Sacramento, and they're hoping to come out with something in the $8 to $9 billion range.
Would that do it?
They think that most of the needs can be done, that there's probably a couple of $1 billion in pork in there, that if people will agree to let their pork go away, but it was put in there for a reason. If I'm in Southern California and I want to coattail in on a popular thing and I want to get a new airport out of it, somehow it becomes a water issue.
Yeah.
So I throw it into the package and now you got my vote. So, it's still undecided what the final outcome's going to be, but the governor's $6 billion doesn't seem to have a lot of support.
So what's that water bill going to do or bond going to do to help us here in the Central Valley either store more water or acquire more water for our needs?
Well, I think from the Central Valley standpoint, I think if you ask most of the people around here, we need storage. Well, in a good year, when we've got it, we need to have the ability to capture.
Will this bond help in that way?
If the one that Henry T. Perea mentioned today would have storage in it.
Would have storage.
The governors.
What about our immediate
needs? The governors.
Though?
Oh well, that's the problem. I mean, if you started, somebody said, well, the dams, that's a 20-year project, and of course they said that 5 years ago. So if we had started 5 years ago, we'd be 25% of the way down that road, and we keep saying, but it's a long 20-year project. What are we doing?
We keep putting it off.
And conveyance is going to be a big problem. Water conservation. We pray for rain for next year. Who knows? But it's a serious problem, and somebody's got to address it, and they need to address it quick.
Well, I want to roll a videotape, and this is kind of shocking. And I haven't been out to Millerton in a while, but the videotape is just going to show the telltale sign. Look at that. That mound, Al, is usually covered with water completely. Right. That's taken with a drone, by the way. I don't know if it's a U.S. drone, but it's a drone. That's a drone shot. That's a neat shot. This is a sad tale, my friend. I can hardly look at this video because it makes me think of what was it, the 30s, the Dust Bowls? Are we turning into a Dust Bowl? Is that what's happening and right before our eyes and we don't even know it?
It makes you wonder about the future of the Fresno area. And that's one of the reasons why we are so dependent on basically one economic driver, which is agriculture. And as long as we are totally married to that one, our lives will go up and down based on what happens to that thing. It's very, very important somehow that we get into a position that we diversify our economy here in town. And that kind of leads to the argument about high-speed rail, because one of the arguments for high-speed rail is it will assist in making the Central Valley more prominent in the whole statewide thing. I can get on a train here and work in San Francisco and be there in an hour, So as long as...
Let me clarify what you're saying here. We need not to be so tied to agriculture that we're really reliant upon it solely. Is that what you're saying? We need to
Your
diversify?
Your mother probably said, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Is that what we're doing here?
I think, yeah, sure.
And is it going to turn around and bite us in the you-know-what?
It could. I mean, we're witnessing it now, because when you go through periods like we've done for the last 3 years, all of a sudden we're fallowing fields, we're laying off employees, and the ripple effect of the farm worker who can't spend the money affects the retailer downtown Fresno or the food chain or stuff. Everybody is impacted by that kind of stuff. And so those ups and downs are going to go just like a stock market goes up and down. And when it goes down, it's got ramifications. Well, a stock advisor will tell you, diversify your portfolio. So if you're in this stock and it goes down, you got the other sector that doesn't go down, and it kind of keeps it balanced. And we need to be a mutual fund.
It's kind of like this show today. It's kind of a hodgepodge. We're diversifying, right? We're talking about, we're all on...
We run off some audience, and we picked up some audience.
Oh, well, you know about that.
I've run off a lot of audience in my life.
Well, I wasn't saying that. I have too, actually. And by the way, I got that jury summons sitting on my desk at home. I can't ignore it. Back in a moment here with Al Smith in just a moment.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified, ready, steam-equipped, high-efficiency Frigidaire affinity place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Frigidaire laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
Back here talking to Al Smith. If we're to diversify here in Fresno, what do we get into?
Well, there's been a real interesting acceleration of high tech. There's a thing called Biz Hub downtown.
Yeah.
Have you had that gentleman on?
Yes, we've had him on.
Jake?
Yeah.
He's got a tremendous story.
Yeah.
And this is right in our backyard, and he's got like 22 geeks.
Well, they're gook geeks. Geeks.
Who are doing strange things with computers that I have no idea what they're talking about, but it's been so good that they now have bought a whole new building, and now they're going to do that. So you've got this sort of the high-tech industry that's really sort of raising its head. A lot of water research has been going on at Fresno State, water incubators and stuff like that. But if we can, we have very few regional headquarters. Business headquarters. And so if all of a sudden transportation becomes more efficient in our state or in this part of the country, then it's quite possible that as real estate prices and the misery of living in the big cities and on the coast say, hey, we just need to move to a cheaper place. But if we have the amenities to offer that, then,
but
we
we
win.
Still, no matter what we do, we still need water.
Yeah.
We still need water.
But remember, ag takes 80% of all the water.
That's true. All right. Good morning. You're on Connect with Me. Your question. Caller?
Yes, I'd like to know, when he speaks of diversification in the Central Valley, why haven't we done it before? We've had plenty of time to bring in other industries, but nothing has happened.
Well, I guess I'm not sure. You say we've done it a lot of times. I'm not sure how many we've done. I mean, we've always tried to add industry to our community, and but I think, you know, I've lived in Southern California. When I moved to California in '86, I lived in Southern California for 2 years, and we owned a radio station up here, KMJ, and but I'd never been up here, and I would see these TV commercials for Ralph's Foods or whatever, and they talk about the Central Valley, and I'm thinking, where in the heck is the Central Valley? I never even heard of the Central Valley, and I think that's the mentality of most Californians, which is this governor has come down here to the Central Valley probably 3 times. Schwarzenegger was down here every other month. He's the only governor that I know, although I guess Duke Magian was very active in the Central Valley. He's the only governor I know, Schwarzenegger, who is constantly in the Central Valley, put his people to work on behalf of the Central Valley and stuff. We are a forgotten piece of real estate in the eyes of most of our government leaders in the state.
Yeah.
And the better we can and stronger we can get on their radar, the more benefits we will get to help us with identification.
Hey, I want to diversify again and change topics a little bit. I want to talk about the Giants because they're in New York tonight. I'm going to go back to baseball. We're going to run this thing. You know, Andrew Suzak was playing catcher here in the city of Fresno with the Grizzlies. Okay, we're going to get to the topic of the Grizzlies in just a second. But he had his first start the other day. He had his first hit the other day. He played a week ago against the Dodgers. Adam Duvall, the first baseman, called up, back down, called up again. He played last week and now back down. So last Saturday night after the Dodger loss, I talked to both Andrew Suzak and first baseman Adam Duvall, who's back here in Fresno.
How do you feel?
I feel good.
Excited or nervous?
Super excited. I was a little nervous before the game, I'm not going to lie, but once I was, out there on the field and, caught a couple bullpens just to get my feet wet, and the nerves kind of settled down.
How about your at-bat against Clayton?
Oh, I saw Flan say swing it, and, I was seeing some of the nasty pitches he was throwing earlier, and I got a pretty good pitch to hit, middle in. I saw him working it in the whole day, just I guess got a little rookie antsy and got a little rollover happy.
How does it feel for you to be here in the big leagues?
It feels awesome, but at the end of the day, I want to contribute and I want to, help drive in runs and help win ball games. So, when we start doing that, then I'll be happy.
Obviously, staying in the major leagues, you have to produce. So how do you psych yourself up to stay relaxed, stay calm, and just pretend it's a game at Grizzly Stadium?
Well, you just got to go out there every day and compete. And I feel like if you compete every at-bat and, you put together some good at-bats, then, the results will come. So, that's what I'm looking forward to do and just keep competing.
Again, Adam Duvall called back down to the Fresno Grizzlies. Andrew Suzak in New York with the Giants. He could start behind the plate again. It could be his second start. Importance of the Grizzlies staying connected to the Giants, because we see these players going up and down. How important is it to business and the overall image of our community?
Well, I think, we talk about diversification and we talk about the dependence on ag. Sometimes we forget how lucrative and the asset of the leisure tourist business is. And the Grizzlies can bring to the community an attraction that has people coming into our town for conventions, passing through, going to Yosemite, and stick around and enjoy a ball game. And that's a good major asset for a big community.
Right, and so they got to keep that affiliation with the Giants.
I hope so.
I hope so. Al Smith,
thank you.
Hey,
always a pleasure.
Hey, always a pleasure to see you. You were our first guest here on Connect with Me. I'll never forget that. He's a friend here of the shows. Glad you could spend this time with us. We're going to be back Monday with a former photographer. He worked at all the stations here, KC24, 47, Channel 30. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday.